Let's play some Mage Knight, round 5, beginning of the third day. Norowas sits atop the rubble of the Red City. Had a pretty good round 4. Accomplished quite a bit. Killed ourselves some ice dragons here. Defeated the Red City rather handily. And looking to crush the final city and hopefully make round 5 be the final round. We've got some lava dragons that we're going to have to go through if we are in fact going to place the final core tile here, which I believe that is our plan. Let's take a look at the unit offer quickly. We've got Delphana Masters, recruitable at the cities, foresters, don't care, fire golems, maybe kind of interesting, mage towers and keeps. We do have an open command token. Unfortunately, the closest keep is back here across the desert, moving across the desert back and forth during the day. Probably not a great idea. No mage towers in sight. We're definitely not going to go all the way up to here. So, only unit that looks the most interesting to us is the Delphana Masters. Unfortunately, they cost 13, and we are sitting at a -1, so not a small feat. But luckily, we are Norowas. Before all that, we had to decide if we were in fact going to replenish our magic familiars or let them fade away into legend, and we do in fact release them. Neat interaction with bonds of loyalty and magic familiars. Normally you cannot get rid of a unit, but with the case of magic familiars or letting a unit take a paralyzed attack, we can open up this space, which gives us 5 influence, which could maybe help us get those Delphana Masters. Opening hand of 8 cards, because we are sitting atop one of our cities. Good to see Noble Manners here, Banner of Courage, also one of our big pickups. And Blood Ritual will help us get some mana. Let's take a look at what is sitting in the rest of our deck. Our other influence card, our new advanced action that we picked up last round. Lots of green mana needs. That will be something that we want to keep our eye on. Tactics will be an easy choice of the Great Start. And we Great Start our way into Threaten and Regeneration, so we got another influence card. That is great. Looking back at the map, plan out our first turn. We do have this Ancient Ruin here, which is 3 white mana to give 7 fame. Do in fact have white mana in the source. I have a white crystal, and we do have Blood Ritual. We would be able to fulfill the requirements of that altar and get ourselves that fame. However, in doing so, we would provoke these lava dragons, and I want to use that white mana to power Noble Manners for sure, either ideally from the dice, not from our crystal, to try and get those masters. So we elect not to pursue the ruins. Before that, let us see what we're dealing with our final city. Use the scouts for movement 2 and the ability to reveal a tile 2 steps away. And we get the blue city. So I ended up getting what I think is the 2nd strongest city and probably the 3rd strongest city. White being the strongest, green being the weakest. But we did get them on tiles 3 and 4, which makes it definitely a little more challenging, and they are beset with dragons. This one being guarded by a swamp dragon now. So we've got a lot of stuff to plow through to get our way there. We do have a monastery there, which is always tempting. That monastery put Spellforge and Power Crystals into the offer. We didn't take a look at the advanced actions or the spells, mainly because I'm a ways away from being able to procure either of these. We can just take a quick glance at them in case you're curious. Now that we know what we're up against, let's get ourselves some masters. First, let's get this updated. Generation. We play Noble Manners with a white die. Oops, excuse me. Threaten for influence 4, 6. Let's add our fame and our rep before I forget about it. Bonds of loyalty for 11. Our city reputation for 14. Minus our 1 reputation gives us just enough to get ourselves some Delphana Masters. And we do in fact want them there. White die rerolls blue. I also decide, because we do have an 8-card hand size, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we already have 8 cards, we wouldn't be drawing anything new. So I discard a March and a Stamina. I mean, we're going to have plenty of movement. We only need to move 3 into the, or excuse me, we're not going to go through the desert. We would need to move into these wastelands for 4, 3 into the hills, and then eventually into the city for another 2, which I don't think we'll have too much trouble piecing together. We've got improvisation, we've got ambush. We should be okay. Swiftness. Let's end our first turn. And our hand size should be 8. The mod does a really good job when you're standing on a keep or you're next to your keep, but it doesn't handle cities quite as well. So we draw Rage and Crystallize. Let's go ahead and get this up to date. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 cards left. I'm going to wait to play the banner. I think I'm going to try to pop it to use its stronger effect. It's just too good. But the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out how to deal with these lava dragons. So we provoke the lava dragons. We play Blood Ritual, taking a wound, getting a red crystal, and we create a white token with it. We crystallize that white token, And we play our new Delphana Masters with the green die and the newly crystallized white token to reduce its armor by 5, as well as take away all of its fortifications and resistances, which is a really nice 1-2 punch that you'll see us use a little bit later as well. Doing so gets rid of the Lava Dragon's fortification as well as its fire resistance, dropping its armor by 5 down to 3, which we easily take out with an Utum crossbowman and a Forked Lightning. Return this die back to the source, and it stays green. And let's end our turn. Mr. Bravalar is sitting at 8 cards, and our hand size should still be 8. We need one more card, which are Ambush. And it is time to begin our march on the Blue City. We head out, playing Ambush with a green die for 4 move and increasing our next attack card by +2. We do in fact provoke the Swamp Dragon. We play Swiftness plus our white crystal, giving range attack 5, plus our Catapult for range attack 8, plus our Forked Lightning for range attack 9. Never underestimate the ability to just get an extra 1 attack. That's now the second enemy that's been very relevant for. Since we're likely moving into the city on the next turn, I decide to pop the banner now so that we'll get an extra card, try to maximize our hand size moving into that city. And all of our units are ready to roll. Dice gets returned to the source and rerolls red. Where are you? There we go. Let's end our turn and level up. Got another command token giving us a great 7 card hand size, which can come soon enough coming into the city siege. We are still adjacent to our city. Our hand size should be 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go ahead and update this so we know what we're working with. Burning Shield would definitely be nice to have for the city assault, but, you know, not completely necessary. We'll work with what we have. I wanted to see who was guarding the Blue City before I got too crazy, so I wanted to move up top of this hill, decide if we want to try to enter it on this turn or if we think we're going to need one more turn. So I do that by playing March and Stamina. Move ourselves onto the hill and reveal and of course, those are the wrong tokens. Hold on just a moment. And there we go. Here are the correct units. Sorcerers, Fire Mages, Freezers, and Gunners. And unfortunately, 3 of our 4 enemies are going to be boosted by the bonus from the Blue City. Our Sorcerers are not because they have physical attack. One thing I did not mention in the Red City Assault was that only the physical attack gets boosted by the Brutality. And if I recall, it was just the Monks who had physical resistance. I may have alluded to the fact that everyone was going to be brutal, but it was just, in fact, the Monks. Which is why the Red City is definitely not as strong as either the blue or the white. So I take a look and I decide, do we have enough to enter into this city? Now, I could have played a green token on my march to have enough move to enter into the city, but if you look at all of these different green cards, I wanted to save my green crystals. So I decide to use the scouts to enter into the city. And because I've revealed some new information, I can now plan out the entire attack and decided if I actually needed the scouts to move them into the city in the first place. Spoiler alert, I do not. First thing I do is I play Whisper in the Treetops. I get myself a white crystal and a green token. Let's get bad guys. These out of the way. I use the Delphana Masters plus a green crystal to reduce the armor of a target enemy by 5, and I do reduce the Gunners. So they are now a 1 ice resistance, as well as fortified from the city. We pile them together with the Freezers, who are a 7 fire resistance and fortified, so we now have a 8 cold fire fortified enemy to deal with, which we handle in the range phase by playing Concentration. Let's use our gold token, Crushing Bolt for Siege 5, and plus our 3 from the Catapult to give us Siege 8. They're not physical resistance, so these 2 die in the range in the siege phase. So weird to be using Siege on a city on a solo conquest. Almost never do. Because the Delphana Masters let us use multiple mana, we play a blue crystal and target the Fire Mages to make them not attack, and they are red resistant, so the blue will be effective on them. This was using a green spell power, so the fire and the ice resistant didn't make them resistant to those spells. Nothing is resistant to green spells except for Arcane, which this dude happens to have. So Fire Mages are not attacking. Unfortunately, these are assassin. Otherwise, we would have a nice ability to... Well, the poison also, too, makes it a little less useful. But inspiration can actually heal a unit, regardless of their level, as long as they only have 1 wound on them. When they get 2 wounds on them, they can't be healed completely by just inspiration. It only removes 1 wound, according to what I've read anyway. And because it's assassin, it's hard for any of our units to actually take that damage, so we take it to the face. And 2 in the discard pile. Blue City's bonus not becoming a thing because he's not attacking and these 2 have been killed. Yeah, if we combine these 2 enemies together, we end up with a 11 arcane fire resistant. We play Rage. Plus, we have not yet used a die from the source. Rage plus a red crystal, giving us 4, 8, 11, which is enough to kill off these sorcerers and fire mages. Now, I believe what I could do is, I'm a little unsure with this, but because Fork Lightning says that once a turn, range, cold fire, attack 1 against up to 3 different enemies, I believe that I could play this for 1 attack, even though they're combined. So I'm not really sure if I can do that. Basically, it would save me a crystal. I'm going to say that I can put an asterisk for 2 points. Crystal's worth what? Are they worth 1 point? Half a point? Anyway, not much. After the combat, we play Regeneration. Use our final green crystal to heal 2 and ready a level 1, 2, or 3 unit. We heal up 2. We ready the catapults. We play Rejuvenation and heal 1. Make sure those get removed. And that's it. That's the city. Very clean again. All of our cards, no wounds. This die rerolls black. Let's end our turn and level up. This city is mine. Very important. There we go. And let's see what we've got. Bright Negotiation, Day Sharpshooting, a couple green ones here from Mr. B, Shapeshift, Thunderstorm, Beguile. Advanced Actions, Force Nature, Ice Shield, Crystal Mastery. I am going to get 1 more turn, which the only thing I can probably do would be maybe something like this altar here. But man, just like Tovak, there is 1 last monastery to be had. I didn't put a tremendous amount of thought into what would be the most useful for this last turn. I ended up taking Day Sharpshooting and Crystal Mastery. Figured if I could preserve my crystals, maybe worth an extra few points at the end. We have achieved this scenario. Revlar ends with 5 cards left in his hand. Let's take our final turn. Not exactly sure what's wrong with our hand size. We definitely should be drawing that final card. Let's take care of this monastery. We use Swiftness to enter into the monastery and burn it down, which will decrease our reputation into the negative territory. Can never end a game too positive. Our units refuse to join us in the sport of monastery burning, and we confront the ice columns. Now, because our units won't join us, we got to take care of this ourselves. I have no idea if this is the best way to take on this guy and maximize our points at the end. I recall I was probably pretty fatigued at this point. I play Crystal Mastery with a blue die. Still blue, which lets me at the end of the turn any crystals that I've used from my inventory remain in my inventory, maximizing my score a bit. I use Mana Draw, use my white crystal, which I will get back, so I'm just going to put it back here before I forget it. I turn 1 of these black die red, giving me a red token, which I play Burning Shield. Even though the ice columns are ice resistant, they are not fire block, or excuse me, even though they have ice attack, fire block is still a good thing. So we fire block 4, which is then allows going to fire attack 4. 4 successfully blocks the ice columns. They are ice resistant, but they're not fire resistant, and Burning Shield takes them down, which I believe is Burning Shield 4th kill? Yes, I believe 4th kill. And that's it. Let's finish up our turn. Check our score. 214. This was a really fun game. This is exactly how I want my Mr. Norwell games to go. Tons of units. Tons of reactivating units. I think I had 4 different ways to do it between Regenerate, Rejuvenate, Inspiration, and Banner of Courage. Definitely shows me that you don't need this many ways to rearm your units. You know, we rearmed the catapults. We never even used them. We never even used Inspiration on this final day, which could have healed a unit or readied a unit. We didn't have the Herbalist, which would have given us a 5th way to ready units, and I'm not even sure if there's any more ways to do it. Maybe something in the artifacts or spells. If anybody's aware of any more, please throw them in the comments. But all in all, I think that is the most sources of readying units that I've ever had. Great game. 214 is a score that I'm very proud of. That probably puts it in my top 3 games. I think 217 was my highest with a solo conquest with a 5th city and an 8th city. Level 5, level 8 city. I know you can bump up your score into the mid-high 200s by increasing the levels of your cities, and I'm sure I'll probably try that. But for me, with standard solo conquest at level 5 and 8, getting over 200 is a really strong accomplishment for myself, and that feels good. Let's end up. Excuse me, Norwald for a moment. It's very important. Get a good closing shot, maybe something like this. But let's quickly recap the round as well. Started off here in the Red City, had to take out 2 dragons, so we took out 3 dragons in a row. Marched our way into the Blue City through a combination of a lot of units, taking them out handily. Walking away with no wounds after both cities, which means I probably could have played a little more aggressively than I did. Big difference between this game and the Tovak game was, I believe in the Tovak game we only had 72 fame and a final score of 174. Here we are at 113. That definitely makes all the difference. And if you recall with Tovak, we didn't even really interact with any of the core tiles. Here we ended up killing 3 dragons, burning a monastery, which I think definitely helped. Also, a lot of keeps in this game. I had 3 keeps, only 1 mage tower, which was way down here at the beginning somewhere. Where's our mage tower? Oh, here it is. Yeah, that's where we got our burning shield, which put in some pretty good work and was pretty impressed with everything, just reinforcing my theory that pretty much every card in Mage Knight is good in the right situations or can be good in certain games. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that I enjoyed making it. Norowas Solo Conquest, final fame of 214. We'll see you again soon.